we are about to check, to review the sentences that you have already, don't cheat, you have already done on your piece of paper with your two pens with different colors, etc. And as I said, once you do the sentences, then you come back and check how I do, why I do what I do, etc. Okay, so let's go. Insulae, incolae, aquilas, in ripa vident. So we find the verb and then we analyze it. So we have here NT, which is third person plural, present, indicative, active. Okay, now how do we build a sentence with the verb to see? I see something, maybe somewhere. Okay, so we need like a subject, I see something, direct object, somewhere, like adverbial of place, location. No? Okay, so let's see. We again, of course, analyze everything, all the possible cases. So here we have genitive, dative, singular, nominative, vocative, plural. Here we have exactly the same. Nominative, plural, vocative, plural. Here, aquilas, we have accusative, plural. Then in, we have preposition. And this is one of the very few prepositions that can have two cases, just like in German, by the way. Preposition, accusative, or ablative. We are going to see which one. Then aripa, I'm going to write it here, okay, is like nominative, vocative, ablative, singular. Okay. Then we said, okay, so now we start finding phrases. Okay, so first, subject. Who sees things? And we said usually the subject is the first word, but let's see if that makes sense, because it's not always the case. Okay, the islands see. Doesn't make so much sense. Okay, then since the verb is plural, we need a subject, a nominative, which is plural. Here we have something which is possible. Then, for example, here we have nominative singular, but since the verb is plural, then this cannot be the subject. So we can even like cross it out. Also, we could even cross out this vocative, because we said that vocative always is written between commas, no commas here, so it cannot be vocative. Okay, so we said like here, this could be the subject, but it doesn't make sense. No, so no, vocative no, because it's not written between commas. So this nominative, the inhabitants see, that makes sense. Okay, the inhabitants see. Now accusative, direct object, it can only be that. No, so the inhabitants see eagles. Okay, makes sense. Now dative, it cannot be dative, because this verb doesn't need a dative, doesn't need an indirect object, so also no. So it's genitive, so it's complement of the noun. Which noun? Can also only be this one. So the inhabitants of the island see eagles. Now this can only be ablative and noun. Since this is ablative, this preposition has to be ablative. And now, of course, the preposition goes with the noun. Okay? And now we will learn this better, like in the future, but for now, we start learning that in plus ablative is an adverbial of location. Location. No? So, where do they see eagles? In the shore. So the inhabitants of the island see eagles in the shore. The next sentence, reginae filia amica nautae est. So here we have the verb, which happens again to be the last word of the sentence according to the general rule, and we analyze it. Third person singular, present, indicative, active. Now, how do we make a sentence with the verb soon, the verb to be? So something or someone is something or someone, okay? So we are going to need like a subject, as always, and then an attribute. The attribute is the complement which usually goes with the verb soon. With the verb soon, we usually, not always, but usually have subject and attribute. So for example, he is my friend, okay? And now, be careful, because, and we studied this, we said this already, that the verb soon, the subject, of course, is nominative, but then also the attribute is nominative, okay? So be careful with that, because that's, at first, that's a beginner's mistake, frequent one, okay? So, let's see. We are going to need at least two nominatives, like one for the subject, one for the attribute. Okay, so let's start analyzing. Here we have genitive, dative, singular, nominative, vocative, plural, philia, nominative, vocative, ablative, singular, amica, nominative, singular, vocative, singular, ablative, singular, and nautae, genitive, dative, singular, nominative, vocative, plural. Okay, so we see that we have nominative, 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 nominative. A lot of nominatives, possible nominatives. But we can already do like this. Why? Again, the verb is singular, so we need a singular subject and attribute, no? Okay, so here we have one nominative, here we have another nominative. So we have subject and attribute. Now, attribute with two T's, okay? How do we know which is the subject and which is the attribute if both are in the nominative case? Usually, this is not like really a rule, but usually the subject is the first and the attribute is the last one. It doesn't really matter so much with subject and attribute. It doesn't matter which is which, usually, okay? Unless it's super obvious, but it's not so important. Okay, so we say the daughter is the friend. Okay, kind of makes sense. We still need some more context. Then vocative, no, because we don't have commas. Then dative. We don't need an indirect object with the verb to be, so it can not be dative either. So we only have this. So again, complement of the noun, complement of the noun. And of course, this is this and this is this. So literally, the daughter of the queen is the friend of the sailor. Of course, then we can say the queen's daughter is the sailor's friend. Okay, and that's it. Here we have another sentence which is actually not so different from one that we have already done. No, so again we find no, of course, first, sorry. First thing, we read the sentence. Regina pecuniam filiae nautae dat. And now, yes, we find the verb. Here, we analyze the verb. Third person singular, present, indicative, active. Now, we start from the beginning. Nominative singular, vocative singular, ablative singular, accusative singular, nominative plural, vocative plural, genitive singular, dative singular, and here the same. And now, we begin. We already know how to build a sentence with the verb to give. So someone gives something to someone. So we are going to need a subject, direct object, indirect object. Okay, so first, the subject. Usually the first word. Here, nominative. This is singular, the first word. So totally looks like this is the subject. The queen gives. Okay. Then this can only be this. So the queen gives money. Then this nominative plural cannot be because no commas. And now one of these is going to be dative and the other one is going to be genitive. Now, it could actually be both, as we are going to see. The queen gives money to the daughter of the sailor, or to the sailor of the daughter. Of course, the first option makes more sense, okay? It could be both, but the first option makes more sense, no? So, to the daughter, indirect object of the sailor, complement of this noun. So, the queen gives money to the daughter of the sailor, or to the sailor's daughter. Next sentence, nautae cum agricolis sagittisque pugnant. And here again we find the verb in the last position of the sentence, and here we have third person plural, present indicative, active. Now, how do we make a sentence with the verb to fight? Well, here, of course, we will sometimes find difference in the syntax between Latin and English. So, for example, in English, we would normally say, I fight someone. We maybe, I mean, I'm not a native speaker, as you might already have found out, but I guess you wouldn't say, I guess maybe, I fight with someone. I think so. Now I don't know, but okay. In Latin, we say, I fight with someone. We don't say, I fight someone. Okay. So, we start from the beginning, analyzing, and here we have genitive, dative, singular, and nominative, vocative, plural, cum. I know this sounds funny in English, but what can we do? A preposition which only goes with ablative. Then agricolis, dative, ablative, plural, astis, dative, ablative, plural, and here, if you have studied the first class, not the 0th class, but the first class, you already know this thing here, que. If not, it's totally fine. We are going to see how this works right now, no? So this que is a way to say and. But you see that it's like a different word, but we write it in the same word. And then we don't translate it here, we translate it here. Okay, so that's how Latin is. What can we do? And now, yes, sagittis is dative plural or ablative plural. Okay. So, first, the subject is plural, the verb is plural, so we need a nominative plural here. Quite easy. Subject. The sailors fight. Okay. And now we have preposition ablative. So this has to be ablative, of course, no? So here we have adverbial of company. So the sailors fight with the farmers. Makes sense so far? And then for this verb, we don't need an indirect object, so it's not going to be dative. Here we have ablative without preposition. Why did I do this line here? Because if we have and here, that means that this and this is the same phrase. Okay, it's the same function. It works together. You cannot split it. Okay, so the sailors fight with the farmers, and now here we have an adverbial, but in this case with spears and arrows. So that's the instrument, no, adverbial of instrument. And yes, we see, I mean, you might remember the example that I gave in the theory that I nail with the hammer, and with the hammer is like the instrument, okay? And yes, we translated both with, but here we have cum, here we don't have anything. The translation doesn't matter. What matters is the actual syntactic function in Latin. So the company, cum plus ablative. The instrument, ablative without preposition. Okay, so that's it. That's how it is. And let's go to the next one.